Hello, and welcome to a Solutions episode of the Drywall Podcast. I am your host, Nick Harmon. With us today, I'm honored to have the one and only Joe Koenig of Trim-Tex Drywall Products back on the show. Joe has been in and around the drywall trim business since 1979. And that's how far we go back. We discuss the early days of Joe Sr., his father, coming from Yugoslavia to start up an awning company and stumbling upon a need for vinyl siding in a space that relied entirely on metal.
So my dad, he didn't really know they're con artists. He's back at the plant making siding. He's not out there selling with them. So, right. But his channel, was basically a bunch of con artists selling shit for more than they needed to. So with the Buyer's Remorse Act, all of a sudden their money flow was a little tighter. They stopped paying their bills. So my dad got into a money bind because the flow of money had slowed down because now these guys had to sell the product for a little bit more. Their profit went way down. Yeah. So their money tightened up. So then they stopped paying as well as they used to. So Joe Sr., things were going well, and all of a sudden the money got tight. Martin Luther King was murdered, and there was riots in Chicago. Guess where my dad's plant was? Right there.
We discuss the importance of learning the motorcycle, why hole punching was instrumental in the development of Trim-Tex, the importance of customer satisfaction, innovation, and how a team environment at Trim-Tex enables them to be the top manufacturer of vinyl trim products in North America and beyond. Settle in as we dive headfirst into the world of trim. Today's episode of the Drywall Podcast was brought to you exclusively by Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. Shout out to Nieberge Lumber out of Dietrich, Illinois, our latest retailer for Fresco Harmony products. If you're interested in trying Fresco Harmony, reach out to me directly at info@frescoharmony.com. I will get you hooked up with a free sample pack, and we'll discuss how to sell this stuff and make money doing it. Guests of the Drywall Podcast will receive a sweet swag bucket from our friends at CSR. If you don't know who CSR is, they are a distributor of drywall products, and they're pretty darn good at it. You can find out more at csrbuilding.com for all your drywall needs. But for now, Joe Koenig, owner of Trim-Tex Drywall Products, on the 119th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. 2.5 years, Joe. You were episode number 5, and now this is number 119.
Number 5, and now we're on number 119.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Can you guess how long ago our last interview was?
It was so memorable. It seemed just like yesterday.
It wasn't. I listened to it. I was recently coming back from a trip to Illinois. We have our first retail location in Dietrich, of all places.
I saw that. Is it a lumber yard? What type of dealer are they?
Yeah, they're like a small lumber yard. He asked me straight out. He's like, so when this thing takes off, am I going to find this in every store, And I was like, hey, gentleman's agreement. I'll give you a 50 mile. So he asked for 50. You can't get anywhere in the area like within 50 miles anyway. So I was like, sure. I'll give you 50 miles, man. No problem, man. No Sherwin-Williams, no nothing. We
So
don't
how
go
did
in.
he fall in love with it? Was it used on his own home or something? Or
No, it's, every location that we've got so far has been through the applicator. The
oh, is that the gentleman that visited Trim-Tex? Is that his
Yeah.
hometown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in Newton. They're about 10 miles away from Dietrich there. And yeah, Chad, those small towns, man. He knows everybody.
Mhm.
And he actually said specifically when he orders Trim-Tex, he goes to the front desk. He tells them what he wants and they order it. He goes
Mhm.
out to the back with his notepad, writes down the trim that they need and takes it
Mhm.
up to the front and they order it. So,
Okay. So that particular dealer that's carrying Fresco is also set up for Trim-Tex purchasing.
Yep. They sell
Nice.
mud, stucco, but it's like a hardware store.
Mhm.
Man, it was a cool shop. And they had a little bit of everything, plumbing
Right.
supplies, fixtures, hardware. They did roofing, they covered a lot of ground. They've been there forever. Guy was a salty old dude. Gave me like a bottle of bourbon he had custom made with like Niebergy. And I was like, I don't drink, but I'll put it in my office as a keepsake. um,
Absolutely.
we
So cool.
have. I have to say, I was a little nervous coming back on with the great Joe Koenig of Trim-Tex. We had a great interview the first time. If you haven't listened to it, it's episode number 5, as I said, and I wanted to listen to that episode on my drive home so that maybe we could take a little different tack. I was new at this back then. I wouldn't say
Right.
I'm a veteran by any means, but my interviewing skills have sharpened a bit.
And
And so I appreciate you coming on,
I'm
taking the
not
time.
shy. I used to be very shy, and I have gotten over my shyness. So
You weren't shy on that interview.
I remember I was aggravated
Yeah,
when it started. I couldn't get signed on, and
yeah. And I didn't know what to think. I was like, I don't care, dude. You can be mad, you can cuss. Nobody's
yeah,
gonna listen to this anyways. But
sometimes the best interviews are, yeah.
I've been doing this
Nice
a long.
hat, by the way. I like it.
This is old school.
Hmm.
You know where I got this when Dawn came to visit me. God, I had my truck. That was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I just bought my Tacoma, and my son was just born. And
Wow.
so this hat's from 9 years ago.
You're talking Don Dathy.
I think it's
Have we
but
started already? Or are we
hell yeah. Oh yeah.
what?
It's all gold.
I've been picking my nose and stuff. You
Yeah,
didn't
we'll
even
leave it
tell
all
me.
in.
You did not tell me we started. Wow.
No. Early on, I used to not do the full video. But here's
Mhm.
the beauty of the podcast is that like your original interview from so long ago, a year, 2.5 years,
Wow.
can be listened to on YouTube, and not only listened to, people can watch it.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a little bit of advertising, and what's great about advertising on this platform is A, there's not really much for drywall people to advertise on, and B, uh, it lives in infamy. Like on the interweb, somebody can go and look at your interview from 2.5 years ago, or check out the new interview. So that part's been kind of cool, but I don't put a whole lot of energy into that. My goal and purpose of this is and what's happened is it's really created community. I mean, since our last interview, I hooked up with Columbia. We've gotten into CSR. I mean, this podcast is no small thing. Like, it's really gotten out there for marketing. For me, it's been instrumental. I know Wolfgang. We interviewed Wolfgang with Can-Am. Just Myron Ferguson. I mean, you name it. Bernie, Tomahawk,
Bernie.
yeah, Tomahawk Drywall. Of course, the great Cameron Brown. It's your man Cam. He was on here twice. Just a host of characters and awesome drywallers in the space. Many of them of which tout the benefits and attributes of using Trim-Tex drywall products. Trim-Tex comes up a lot. That said, the last interview you can hear about Joe's a lot of motorsports stuff, Joe getting into motorsports, me talking about Fresco Harmony selfishly. And but this interview, I wanted to steer the ship more in a controlled direction of, you know, I know it was your dad, but let's go back to the early days of Trim-Tex, just for maybe people that missed the first episode, or you know, so that we can get a thicker, broader idea of where Trim-Tex came from, because that story is interesting to me, and I know it's interesting to our listeners. So, real quickly, how did this Trim-Tex thing come to be? I know your dad was doing gutters or something, so let's go all the way back to that point.
Wow, yeah, okay. So way
Yeah.
back.
And the time of that too. He was like a door-to-door salesman selling like gutters or something, right?
Yeah, it's well, similar to that, but so my dad came to America as a teenager,
Okay.
and his he was chased out of his country,
Okay.
Yugoslavia, and he was a deprived person in Austria waiting his turn to come to America. I think they waited 4 or 5 years to get here to get the visas, and
Wow.
he was sponsored by some relatives in Cincinnati, but he ended up in Chicago. And my dad, his first entrepreneurial venture was King's Awnings. So my last name is Koenig. In German, it's Koenig. So, and Koenig in German means king. So my dad's first venture was King's Awnings.
That I was going to put King of Trim
Yeah, he was the king of awnings back then. So,
awnings.
king of awnings. So, guess what? While he was in the awning business, some knucklehead invented the air conditioner. And so they used to use awnings and a whole house fan to keep your house cool. You crack the
Okay.
windows, the awning keeps the sun out, the fan up in the attic draws the air through the house. That's how you stayed comfortable. They didn't have air
Sure.
conditioning. Kids didn't have cell phones, PlayStations, or air conditioning back then. So
No.
the
No.
inventor of Fooey on him, the inventor of the window air conditioner that you stick into a window of a house,
Yeah.
kind of ruined my dad's business. People didn't need
Yeah.
awnings anymore. They just, instead of spending money on awnings, they bought air conditioners.
And real quick, what time frame are we looking at this point in time on the
That
timeline?
was right about when I was born, 1959,
Okay.
to early 60s.
And your dad's name, real quick.
Joe Koenig,
Joe.
Koenig.
Joe Senior.
Yep, Joe Senior. So, and again, uh, people with that same last name, they either say Koenig or Koenig. My dad chose
Uh-huh.
Koenig only because it was more businesslike. It was, uh, but in German, Koenig, there's no E in the name. It's the O with the two dots over the top. So it's called,
Okay.
so it's Konig, and then the O has the two dots, which makes it have that sound, Koenig. So long story.
Do you have relatives in Yugoslavia?
Yeah, Germany. Yep. So
Okay.
both of my parents were German descent, living in Yugoslavia, and then Tito chased them out. The communists kind of they persecuted and killed a lot of Germans, and took their farms and land and all that stuff. So,
Okay.
but anyway, so Dad's in the awning business.
Okay.
Brilliant guy, invents
Yeah.
the room air conditioner.
Where do you
Uh,
think that entrepreneurialist spirit came from? Did he always had that? I mean, coming over from Yugoslavia, he was sort of forward thinking, but does that run in your family?
well, they were farmers. So in Yugoslavia, they were farmers. So there was,
Okay.
as a farmer, you're always trading you're always trading your milk for someone else's, boards, or
Sure.
in the wintertime, my grandpa would make wine barrels, and in the
Yeah.
summertime they would, so they're basically like scientists and horse traders and
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that. They know how to barter. So I think what happened was when my dad was in Yugoslavia, he started to sell some, I can't remember what it was, but he started to be like a street vendor. He was learning how to sell to
He
stay
had the
alive.
spirit. He had the
He had the
spirit.
spirit to stay
Yeah.
alive. Yeah, to eat, to
Yeah.
put food on the table. So when he came to America, he used that entrepreneurial mindset and talent to go into business. So
Okay.
um, he closed up King's Awnings, and then he opened up in 1963. A neighbor gave him the idea of, hey, I heard that somebody's working on vinyl siding. And my dad, so I got to back the story up. So while my dad was in the awning business, he bought his first extruder, and he was tired of the awning slats, what they made the awnings out of, were aluminum. And aluminum, the price of aluminum was up and down, like metal is still today. The price of aluminum today is not going to be the price of aluminum next month. Okay. So
Was
my dad had the
vinyl
idea.
was vinyl a new product at that time?
Vinyl was a brand new, yeah, vinyl
Okay.
was new. So my father bought a old extruder, upgraded it, fixed it, put a motor on it, and it might have been a rubber machine, or they extrude food. So, but anyways, he had his first extruder. He pieced it together, and he started making plastic awning slats. Just as he got into that plastic part of it, he decided to go out of business and go into the siding business.
Yeah.
So in the siding business, it was called Vinyl Tex, Tex. So Vinyl Tex, because PVC vinyl is polyvinyl chloride. Okay,
Okay.
so PVC. So with Vinyl Tex, he made extrusion dies, made the siding, and
Okay.
made the J, to finish a house with vinyl siding, you got to have your corner adapters, your corner piece, and you got to have your J channel to go around the windows and doors.
Okay.
So, through the 60s, he built his business, and by 1967, he had 10 extrusion lines in Chicago running vinyl siding at
That's
Vinyl
pretty good.
Tex.
What kind of how many employees at that particular time? So we were
I
talking
would
in
think, and extrusion, even back in 1960 when he got his first machine, extruders, they don't have a pause button. Once you start them, they pump,
Okay.
and they're running and running and running. So he had 3 shifts. With those 10 lines, he probably had 30, 35 employees.
Okay.
Maybe 20 to 30 employees.
That's pretty dang good in a relatively short period of time. So he's doing pretty well. And then somebody comes to him and says, "Hey, Joe, can you make what about this corner bead? There's new stuff out called drywall, and it
Right.
needs to be finished. The corners need to be finished. Can you make me a prototype?"
Yeah, that's
I
exactly
don't I, I
that.
don't know if that's how it went
Well,
down.
no, that's pretty darn close. I mean, so pretty darn close. I love this conversation because my dad is
Yeah.
90.
Okay.
He lives in Fort Myers, Florida. Yeah, you want to go have lunch with Joe Senior? I mean, I could make that happen. You want to hear the stories, Um, again, my version, which is truthful as I can remember,
Yeah.
my version is in 1968, there was 2 drywall yards in Indiana. One was in Indianapolis and one was in Gary, and they were buddies or cousins or whatever. But they were talking, and they were like, it would be nice if somebody could make for us plastic J bead because the metal, remember drywall wasn't new at the time. Drywall was a big business even back in, 1968. But it was 100% metal, 100% metal trim, metal this, metal that, metal lath,
Yeah,
metal
yeah.
metal plaster beads.
They're still
Um,
stealing, like from the plaster industry, they're still stealing some of those methods for finishing walls, I assume.
yeah,
You got drywall, but you have the metal on the corner. They're like, ah, screw it. We'll make a
yeah,
metal that goes on the edge, you nail it on, something like
yep.
that.
So in 68, all they had was metal J bead, metal corner bead, metal, starter bead, metal expansion beads. If you go back to the USG handbook from that era, you're going to see some accessories in there. It's all metal, 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 metal. So these two guys in Indiana were like, damn it. In the wintertime, when the window sweats, the water runs right down the window and it hits the metal and it rusts and it looks like crap.
Right.
So why are we putting metal next to a window that sweats in northern, exposure, where we have cold weather in the northern parts of North America?
Yep.
It snows. Like today, it was snowing this morning on my way to
Right.
work.
Yeah.
It's 17 degrees. And they didn't know about thermally breaking windows at the time. That window technology was pretty rudimentary, right? You had a piece of glass and you had a frame, and
Yep.
aluminum frame, metal frame, whatever. They didn't have vinyl windows at that time, right? So
Yeah.
the vinyl windows were just getting started. The vinyl siding was, in its infancy stages.
Okay.
So Joe Senior made the first Joe Senior made the first vinyl PVC J bead in 68.
I'll cut that out. We don't want to talk, we don't even want to mention the metal word.
Oh, stop it. It's all good. All good. We can flub a little bit, but no. So, that was the very, very beginning of
Love it.
Vinyl Tex selling as a side business. He was selling JB to a couple of dealers. So
Who was that person that came to him with the idea? Was that a builder or
I can't, no, it was a drywall guy. And
drywall guy?
I swear to God, my dad promised the guy if it, like Elvis Presley, if this thing ever takes off, I'll buy you a Cadillac. And I don't think my dad ever bought the guy a Cadillac. So I personally don't know if I want to buy him a Cadillac if he's still around. So
Oh, good point.
that
The
was
the
my dad's
next
promise. That was my
Yeah, that was your
dad's
dad.
promise.
Yeah. The
Not,
next
yeah,
AWCI is in
I'd buy him a
Charlotte.
Tesla. I'd probably buy him a Tesla
Buy him
instead
a
of a.
Tesla. Sure. The next AWCI is in Charlotte. My dad is in Fort Myer, Cape Coral, actually.
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool to go and meet Joe Senior.
Well,
If I
how
was
about if we
down
get
there.
both our dads together and then they can talk shit about us?
Oh, they would blab. My dad's like a putterer too. The younger generation doesn't realize, like back in the day, like you had to fix shit. Like we had horses. Like he built horse arenas.
Yeah.
He threw up pull from frame buildings. He put engines in my car. Like, he knew how to
Good to
do
know.
stuff. Like nowadays, people don't know how to do shit.
Yeah,
Um,
my dad put me on a milling machine at 10 years old and taught me
yeah.
how to mill steel. He's like, I need a slot over here this big. You just keep turning this handle until you get to this point, and then you turn around and drop it another 30 thousandths, and then you go back and mill it the other direction and keep doing that until you get to this point, and then come and turn it off and come and find me. I'll be over on the
I
other
love
side.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. So Q,
Today, and
maybe,
I'm like, of course, with a milling machine, you stick your finger in there, you could lose your whole hand, right?
yeah,
It's a spinning cutter that
yeah.
could ruin your life, basically. And here's back in those days, the dads were like, yeah, just don't stick your finger in there.
Yep. Don't get your hand in
Yeah.
there, boy.
Yeah. Would you put your 10-year-old on a milling machine right now?
Well, that's a good. Well, I was gonna say, like, sometimes like we can still do that though as parents. Like last night, Sean was on his game. I was getting ready to make dinner, and I was like, "Get your ass in here." I was like, "I'm not making the damn rice. You're making the rice." We had rice and chicken,
Yeah.
and we were going through that, and I had him cutting up cucumbers. He likes to eat cucumbers, and so I was
Mhm.
like showing him the chopping, and I was nervous, but like. I don't think in today's society we give the reins like we used to, like back in the day. He chopped a couple of them, and I was like, okay, give me that. I don't want to send you back to your mom's with missing one of your digits.
Yeah, missing half a digit. Yeah.
But he did take a good hour long break from the damn video game to make some rice, and he learned how to boil up some rice. And I think that's important. But that was instilled upon me when I was young, and it sounds like it was instilled upon you. So maybe
Yeah.
around 10 years of age, you are start to, unbeknownst to you, you start to learn the industry a little bit. So he was bringing you in. Would you say that's as early as you started? And did you always want to sort of follow in your dad's footsteps?
It's a great question. I don't remember. I just thought it was cool, and
Yeah.
I liked the fact that he trusted me to learn things. Um, I had a dirt bike when I had a Honda 50 when I was 5 years old. My dad took me to car races. We went to figure eight oval races,
Yeah.
figure eight races, O'Hare Speedway here near O'Hare Airport. We saw Super Joe Einhorn jump his motor like Evil Knievel.
Yeah.
We saw Super Joe jump his motorcycle at Santa Fe Speedway. So I
That's
thought he was a
cool.
cool dad. I just liked doing cool things with my dad. And then so let's see. I mean, 1969 is when Trim-Tex started.
Okay.
I was 10 years old. So that's when we had the one extruder and one milling machine. But anyways, I wanted to buy a better dirt bike. So he's like, "You want to buy a dirt bike? Then come and work on the weekends and you can grind plastic and blah blah blah." So I literally been working at Trim-Tex for the most part since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
So
We had motorcycles when I was growing up too. I think that's also sort of a cultural thing that these kids are missing out on. Yeah, they're
Mhm.
dangerous, but what a learning experience. Just the whole you fixing them, putting in the oil and the gas
Yeah.
to riding them like it's dangerous.
It's
So
not dangerous. I still got all my fingers. Look at that. There's
oh
10
dude,
digits, 10
I
toes.
remember
You know.
we had a Honda 70 trail bike that my grandma gave me. I thought I was had died and gone to heaven. And I
Mhm.
remember we are in Home Valley, Washington, and coming down, they had a double wide trailer. I remember coming down the road full speed. They had just showed me how to ride the damn thing, really. 'Cause it was my first clutch.
Mhm.
And couldn't, for some reason, I forgot how to where the brake was. How do you had foot brakes and you had hand brakes. Like, I went sailing off this edge, probably 20. My dad said, I thought you were dead, and I was fine. You're limber and young. So I
Yep.
was like, I was fine.
Rubber
And
band man.
yeah, I rode the crap out of that. It was like a Trail 70.
Yeah. Once you stop crashing it, you probably got really good at it. The full send, right? It's like, yeah, this is so
Yeah.
we're
They were
getting
like,
way off the
slow
topic
down,
here.
slow down. And
So I have taught probably 200 plus people how to ride a dirt bike.
okay.
Mostly kids
Yep.
and even a lot of adults too. And the first thing I teach you is we sit on the bike. I'm like, so this is the throttle. Give
That
it
was not how I
more.
got taught, Joe. It was
Right. Give
like,
it
oh,
more.
you know what you're doing. Go for it.
When I say let off, this, closing the throttle, this is less gas. That means let off. So when I'm running behind you screaming, let off, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
that means you got to let go of the throttle. Otherwise, you're going to keep going to California, or into
yeah.
the ocean or
Into
wherever
the
it is.
weeds. Yeah.
We usually point them out in the grass, said nothing to hit. And
Right, right.
And
That's
I've,
probably it's the same with skiing though. I mean,
yeah,
I'm teaching my son how to ski and it's like it's not you don't get hurt if you're in control. So they
yeah,
teach you in ski school, it's like be in control. You can
yeah.
go as fast as you want as long as you're in control. That's a big difference in being out of control.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm telling you, I have 6 grandchildren. I'm teaching them how to ride snowmobiles and dirt bikes right now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're mastering it. But I
I'll
put a
bet.
rope on the back. I literally have, the electric four-wheeler's got a 30-foot rope hanging off the back of it because if they get out of control, they're going off into the forest. You can run and dive and grab the rope. So that is a little bit of a trick. You teach them how to ride a four-wheeler or a dirt bike. You can
That's
yank,
funny.
put a rope around their waist and yank them off the back. So
Let's go back to 1968, 69.
yeah.
I'm curious about like because your dad we sort of skipped from all of a sudden he starts making a trim. Obviously, it's there's some value there. He's like, screw it. I'm going to go from making these tchotchke exterior products to all in on trim, or was he doing both for quite a while before it segued into what we call Trim-Tex today? Because I don't suppose you do exterior vinyl siding stuff like you used to.
Oh
You're
my
just doing,
gosh. Boy, do I have a scoop for you. You
okay,
actually later on the podcast, about 4 hours from now, uh,
okay,
you are going to get the scoop of a lifetime.
okay.
Trim-Tex, huge news coming out of Trim-Tex
All right,
today.
we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
No, I'm giving a little bit of
Little
a little
teaser.
bit, yeah, teaser. Like, stay tuned.
Yeah,
Stay
this is going to be
tuned.
this will be the teaser that I post on Instagram. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna
whoa,
go
we got some
topless. I'm
news.
gonna be topless for the announcement. So
Joe's stripping
let's
down.
let's go back, settle it down. Let's go back to 68. So
Okay.
1968, Joe is, 10 extrusion lines.
Okay.
Um, Vinyl Tex is doing well. The J bead that he made, actually, he didn't call it J bead. He called it Trim-Tex. So he called it half-inch Trim-Tex, 5/8 Trim-Tex, 3/8 Trim-Tex. So
Where
he
does
didn't
the
call,
text come from?
well, text like textile,
Okay.
or,
Okay.
so, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's a great question.
He's fond of Texas.
Vinyl Tex, Tex. Yeah, maybe it meant something to him.
Okay.
Abbreviation for
I'll
whatever.
ask Joe Sr. When I'm down there, I'll ask Joe Sr.
Yep.
when we hook up.
Yep. He's going to tell you what a pain in the ass I am. But
Uh-huh.
besides that,
Sure.
so 1968, my father was doing well, but he didn't have a distribution network. My father was selling the vinyl siding to directly to the installers. And the installers in those days, in the Midwest, it was kind of more of a regional thing. In the Midwest, those guys, a lot of them were the high binders, okay? And what those guys are is they're door-to-door salesmen. If you watch the movie with Danny DeVito and Jack Lemmon, it's called Tin Men. So everybody should watch the movie Tin Men with Danny DeVito. And
Tin Men, Men.
Tin Men, Men. And the reason it's called Tin Men is him and Lemon are two competing aluminum siding salesmen. That's what metal was in, right? Metal.
Yeah.
Before plastics, everything was made out of metal. Metal car bumpers, right? So
Yeah.
um, these tin men were competing against each other, to get the people to put vinyl siding on their head. They would convince the housewives mostly to beautify your house. We're going to put your house on the cover of this magazine, spend $3,000 and never have to paint again. Your husband will be so pleased with you. He'll never have to paint this house again, ever, ever, ever.
Sure. Sure.
So, but here's what happened. These high binders were selling the vinyl siding or aluminum siding or tin siding for a lot more than they deserve to. So in 1968, the government enforced and put into law the Buyer's Remorse Act. So the Buyer's Remorse Act was you now have 3 days to get out of a contract. So if your husband signs a contract for a Corvette, a red Corvette, you know, you, the wife, can say, hell no, it ain't happening there, bro. You're not buying that damn Corvette. We can get out of that contract. So same thing for the siding salesman. Now the husband comes home and says, hell no, I can get that. Let me get my buddy Fred, typical guy, right? Let me get my buddy Fred. He's his cousin, does siding. Let's get his price on it. Holy shit. He can do it for $1,800 instead of the $3,200.
That's funny that these high binders were so good that the government had to put some type of a clause.
They were good.
They were good.
Watch the movie.
I will.
So hilarious because they're They're basically con artists.
Yeah.
So my dad, he didn't really know they're con artists. He's back at the plant making siding. He's not out there selling with them. So, right. But his channel, was basically a bunch of con artists selling shit for more than they needed to. So with the Buyer's Remorse Act, all of a sudden their money flow was a little tighter. They stopped paying their bills. So my dad got into a money bind because the flow of money had slowed down, because now these guys had to sell the product for a little bit more. Their profit went way down.
Yeah.
So their money tightened up. So then they stopped paying as well as they used to. So Joe Sr., things were going well, and all of a sudden the money got tight. Martin Luther King was murdered. And there was riots in Chicago. Guess where my dad's plant was? Right there.
Yeah. Shout out to the King. I think it's MLK Day on Monday, right?
Yeah, MLK coming soon for sure. Mm-hmm. What a phenomenal person. What a vision.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dad's plant was at Vinyl-Tex was on the west side of Chicago on Kedzie Avenue. And there was rioting up and down Kedzie Avenue, and a few fires broke out. Unfortunately, the front of his company, Vinyl-Tex, was burned. And so now, on top of a money flow issue, revenue flow slowing down, now there's a fire to deal with. And so he's dealing with both of those things. He's still moving along. And then in early 69, the Teamsters Union, the truck drivers in Chicago went on strike. And they wanted like 50 cents an hour. And if you go back and look at the history, the Teamsters strike of 1969, they were making like, $3.75 an hour or something like that to drive trucks. And they wanted another, 50 cents an hour.
Yeah.
I could be way off. Maybe it was $5 or whatever it was, but it was low comparatively to today's numbers.
Sure.
The truck strike of 69 put him out of business. Joe Sr. went bankrupt. The bank shut him down.
I didn't know that.
So prior to the bank shutting him down, he ran 2 truckloads of Trim-Tex, which is J-bead. He ran 2 truckloads of boxes of J-bead and parked them at a gas station in Addison, Illinois, and he went bankrupt. And at the auction for those 10 extruders, so now the bank is auctioning off everything, right? From the typewriter in the front office to the toilet seat, in the back, to the grinding machine, to the 10 extruders.
Bummer.
My father had a neighbor of his buy, at the auction 2 extruders. And he went Then he found a small building in Chicago. He put one of the extruders in there. While he was setting up, this extruder, I've got ahead of myself. So he's
Joe
selling.
wasn't done. He had a plan.
He was not done. You could kick him in the teeth, but he's going to get back up.
Yeah, boy, I'll say.
So while he was selling JB to these two guys in Indiana and still feeding his family, including me, I was 10 years old at the time. He knew what his next business, he knew the entrepreneurial mindset that he had. He's like, what's going to be my next business? Shit, it's going to be this J bead into the drywall. So I'm going to open a company going into the drywall industry. So he incorporated under the name of Trim-Tex, because now he's selling trims into the drywall industry. He renamed the J bead from Trim-Tex to J bead, J Trim.
Yeah.
And Trim-Tex was born 1969. Trim-Tex was born. And
is he partners with that neighbor that he sold the extrusion machines, or was that just a way to sort of, I want to hold these machines off to the side so that I can continue this pivot? They call that a pivot nowadays, but like I want to continue on. But like, hey man, you got to buy these machines because I'm going to need those when I get started again.
Right. I don't think they allow you to buy your own equipment at your own auction. So he just used the neighbor. He just used the neighbor to buy them, but he paid him back. He probably borrowed the money and paid him back.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So, but no, Trim-Tex was born, immediately infiltrating into a 100% dominant metal market.
Yeah.
And Trim-Tex
and drywall. And drywall. Like,
yeah. And Trim-Tex today, 56 years later, we're still educating. And Albuquerque is a huge metal market. Metal bullnose, metal this, metal that.
Yeah.
We're still teaching people, hey, try vinyl. For the first time, I put up a vinyl corner bead. I'm 70 years old. So
I'm looking at that corner. I'm looking at that corner above your head there, that inside niche, or the outside 90 niche. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We did that in Surrey. I brought the last case of that in existence up to Surrey, and we put that on a couple bulkheads.
Yeah, that's actually
such a cool.
That's actually half inch. That's actually above me is a layer of 1/4-inch drywall with a 1/4-inch L bead. That's created with a corner bead and so that is actually not the niche bead.
That's not the niche, but it has the same effect.
No, and that's not the announcement that's coming later. We're not bringing niche bead back out, but we actually just ran it for someone. We will run it for you.
That's
special. Right. We have all the tooling.
That question was asked. Chad asked me that because I was like, I think on our first interview, Joe said if the order's big enough. Now, if I wanted to get like, Joe, I got a client, I sold him step bull. We want the 350 step on a whole house. How much do I have to order for Joe to be like, all right, we'll sell it to you?
Yeah, we'll work it out, but it's typically a shift. A custom run is, we want to get an 8-hour run out of that machine. You're going to be spending $1,000+ for 20 boxes of bead or whatever it is. But if some of these shacks you're working on, they're multi-million-dollar shacks. So what's a couple $100 for the bead?
No, that's interesting. Like bulk order only on the specialty bead. I mean, that's something. Yeah. I like it. Anyways, we're getting off track.
So that's the story. Trim-Tex started in 69 with
Trim-Tex is born.
One extruder. But since the bank shut him down, here's the coolest part. Since the bank shut him down, his biggest creditor was the vinyl manufacturer. He had a machine, he had a vision, but he didn't have any plastic because he owed big money to the plastics manufacturer. So what did he do? He went down the street here, 10 miles, to a extrusion company, General Binding Corporation. They made huge rolls of vinyl to make book bindings out of. Whenever you buy a 3-ring folder and you
Mhm.
open it up, it's got a vinyl, it's cardboard with 3 rings in it, and it's got a vinyl cover on it. Well, that company, to extrude all that vinyl for the binding industry, they had 5 extrusion lines. They made a ton of scrap. I mean, and you know what they did with that scrap, Nick?
Threw it
In
away.
1969,
I threw it in the garbage.
they landfilled it.
Yeah.
100% industrial waste in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They're
Yeah.
just landfill it. There was no market for certain things, and landfill it, landfill it, landfill it. Just like your recycling today, your blue bin where you put all those plastics and glass and all that stuff
Yeah.
there. Half that stuff goes into landfill still.
That's what I've heard. That's what
They
I've heard.
still haven't figured it out. And I think it's like 2025 right now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We put
And
the man on the
you're
moon.
probably bringing that up because of Trim-Tex has pretty rigid standards about reusing materials, and as you're using up in your factory, you're using up a lot of the materials that get, as opposed to just throwing them into a landfill, you're reusing a lot of this like unwanted extrusion.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
recycling inside in-house.
Yeah. Well, I think backing this up, I have a huge level of pride, um, in my father and his entrepreneurial ways, but
Sure.
also his back was up against the wall and he's like, shit, I got an idea, but I need raw material. Where am I going to get raw material? So
Smart.
he went outside the box, and he went to a new idea, which is green before the word green was ever a word.
Yeah.
He went and got post-industrial waste that went to the landfill, and he talked this company into keeping it organized and keeping the colors separated. And he would buy it from them. So he started
Cool.
buying all their scrap, and there was a clear and white, a lot of white. White was probably one of the most popular colors for book bindings at the time because it was easy. It was easy to print on white, right?
Yeah.
Uh, if the bank wanted to give away 500 binders, they'd print their name on a white, blah blah blah. So Dad took the white and clear and he made J bead out of it. But General Binding said, hey, you got to take the blue, green, yellow, pink, silver, and black too. It's all or nothing. So he's like, crap, I got to take all that color. What am I going to do with that stuff? So you know what he did? He made the first black plastic lawn edging. He put all the rest of those colors into an extruder and made a lawn edging product out of it, extruded a strip, called it roll of edge, and rolled it up, coiled it up into 100-foot rolls. And he found a way to put all those colors into a product. Put a
Cool.
lot of black, carbon black.
And that's the big announcement. Trim-Tex is bringing back lawn edging.
No, we're not. You're getting ahead. Getting ahead. It could happen. We did sell that division. I sold that division in 2007, and they're still running today. So they're still doing good. They're still
Oh,
making.
cool.
But we did make lawn edging up until '07.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was the deal. Senior was green before green was a word. That post-industrial material actually ran better than virgin PVC because it's kind of like when mom makes pasta, right? It's really good the first night, but sometimes that marinara sauce just tastes better the second night for some reason. So,
Right.
right? You've experienced that with food. You're
Yeah.
like, man, that was delicious, but boy, you reheat it. It was like, man, that was even better the second.
Soups sometimes are that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you don't overcook them.
Right.
So, yeah, that second heat history in the PVC, it's such a durable product and it's a great phenomenal industrial product, PVC pipe, PVC fencing,
Mm-hmm.
PVC drywall accessories, it basically
Yeah.
virtually indestructible. It's chemical resistant, high impact,
Yeah.
it's a great industrial plastic. And Senior's been doing it since 63 with the vinyl siding,
Yeah. Yeah.
PVC vinyl siding.
Maybe
Uh,
it was was it easier to make
what's that?
than some of the other products, corner bead?
Well, a corner bead was easier to make than a vinyl siding. It's much smaller, but um, with when he was first doing JB, there was no hole punching. When he got into the lawn edging, he started, like he did with the siding, he had to rotary punch the slots in the siding. So, along with extrusion comes punching holes. So then, right today, we punch a billion holes a day.
Yeah.
Okay. A
Yeah.
billion. A
Well, and
billion.
it's brilliant too because it helps the mud stick to it helps adheses the corner to the drywall, and you get to reuse all those hole punches that you punch out
Yeah.
too. So
It cuts the weight, which cuts the shipping cost, and then it allows
right.
us to recycle, reuse the punch outs, go right back into our operation. Yeah, even
That's
back then.
cool.
Yep. So, now Trim-Tex, so his first products were trims, which was J beads, and then corner trims and stuff. And then he got into the L bead. He started making the L bead, and that needed to be punched. So it needed to have the bond of the drywall compound needed to protrude through the L bead and sit and stick to the substrate behind. So
Hmm.
the metal version of those L beads
Well, they had holes as well, right?
they were mostly mesh. If you think about it, those L beads were more slit and stretched out into a mesh. Okay.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
plaster, because it before drywall was plaster, it was the blue board. So predating drywall was
Hmm.
plaster. And the plaster trims were all expanded metal. Okay. If you go
Okay.
back and look at Ames, one of those New Mexico companies was Ames. No, weren't they? No, I think they were.
They still have that for stucco. It's similar
Yeah.
to like stucco exterior
Not
corners.
Ames, AMPS, Arizona Metal Products, AMPS, Arizona Metal. But anyways, we're just going all over the place here, but predating
Yeah.
drywall was plaster, metal trims were expanded metal. So going into
Well, I
drywall,
want to get to I want to fast forward to where Joe sort of takes over.
yeah,
How you started to come in and that transition between Joe Senior and Joe Junior, and maybe a little bit of what that was like for you, and
sure.
the challenges to Joe Senior letting go. That's interesting.
Okay. Well, I do want to back it up just a touch. So
Sure.
as he got into the L beads and the tearaway L beads, there was hole punching needed. So my father, since he had done rotary punching for the siding, he built inline rotary punch for the L beads. Okay, so when I came back to Trim-Tex, I had left working at Trim-Tex and I went to California and I went and worked as a motorcycle mechanic, jet ski and motorcycle mechanic. I was working at Whittier Kawasaki in SoCal,
Okay.
uh, kind of honing my mechanical skills uh, on motorcycles, jet skis. I worked on the police bikes, chippy bikes, and all that stuff. And back in the late '70s and early '80s, when I came back, um, my dad actually put me and my brother with another gentleman into a custom extrusion business, an upstart custom extrusion business called Advanced Plastics. So in 1982, when I went back to Chicago, I was actually back into plastics doing custom extrusions. And that's
Okay.
where I learned how to do the partner was big into the co-extrusion and stuff like that. So he taught me, we did custom extrusions for companies. We made everything from toys to tubing to packaging for tools,
And
light.
you like this well enough that it took you away from your other passion of like mechanics, motorsports.
Right.
You were digging this enough that you were like, "Oh, this is cool. There's money here. I'm going to go in this direction."
Right. So I did custom extrusion for 3 years. But my calling for motorcycles was too strong and I left. I sold my brother. We had bought our partner out already within 3 years. And then I didn't want to really butt heads with my brother. So I decided that I was going to open up a motorcycle shop. So I sold my half of Advanced Plastic to my brother, Harry, rest his soul. He passed 6 years ago. And the company's still running today. They got 120 employees and 25 extrusion lines. So
This
they're
is Advanced Plastics.
Advanced Plastics. Yeah.
What are they
They're
making?
custom extrusions. They do
Okay.
door gaskets for truck and trailer industry.
Cool. Just all kinds of
You,
crap.
you name it, all kinds of crap. Custom, custom, custom. So when I went off into the motorcycle business, I had my own shop, Quick Cycle, KWIK, in Northbrook, Illinois, right where General Binding Corp, a small world, the plastic company. But anyways, somehow my wife got pregnant. I don't know exactly how in
Sure.
1989. I was like, oh shit. I went to go talk to my dad. I was like, what should I do? I'm trying to expand my bike business and I'm having some resistance in getting a bigger place because the minute they hear the word motorcycles, they don't want to rent you the building. And
Right.
he's like, and Deb's pregnant, what should I do? And he's like, shit, why don't you come back and run Trim-Tex? You can be the operations manager. You're mechanically inclined.
Yeah.
I'd like to have you come back to the family business. So I
Sure.
decided to close up my motorcycle shop in 1989 and I went back to Trim-Tex.
Bittersweet.
Yeah.
89.
Yep.
89 then.
1989. Yeah.
But
So,
you never lost your zest for motorsports. At least you got a sponsor.
no, well, that's the crazy
You
part.
got a
As soon as
built-in
I stopped
sponsor.
working on everyone else's motorcycles, I actually had time to work on my own bike.
Right, right.
So
So
that was
blessing,
when
it
I
was blessing in disguise.
blessing in disguise. So yeah, I started drag racing again. So,
Cool.
that was my bike passion. I was a motorcycle drag racer. But coming back to Trim-Tex,
Hmm.
my first thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to get rid of the rotary punching. So, because it was just a pain in the ass. It was jamming all the time. And
What
I
does
think
that mean? What does that mean, rotary punching?
a rotary, punching the holes with like a wheel,
Okay.
wheel with a bunch of spikes on there, just
Okay.
kind of piercing holes
Kind of like
into,
one of those old leather punches, I
yeah.
think.
Yep. So, but the rotary wheel kept jamming and the slugs kept jamming and all that. So I got together with a buddy and he's like, I can build you a punch die, a static punch die, you know,
Sure.
we could put it in this little punch press, 2-ton punch press, and we can punch the holes that way. So perfecting the way we punch the holes allowed us to innovate hundreds of products
So
because
Joe Jr. had a flair for new ideas. Maybe some of that entrepreneurialism was passed down, but you also had that a little bit of mechanical background and a flair for innovation as well, just like Joe Sr. So not to belittle
100%.
your role in the growth of Trim-Tex or anything like that, but it's an
Yeah.
interesting story where all this sort of came from. It's very cool,
Yeah.
and you're still a pioneer. Is there anybody else? I mean, not that we have to mention any like competitors doing as much or what you do. I mean, you kind of have you've got a good foothold on vinyl in this industry. Do you have any competitors out there right now?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
gosh, yeah. There's definitely well, Phillips Manufacturing, which is owned now by USG, some big company called USG, who's owned by
sure.
the Germans.
Who are those
They're owned,
guys?
they're owned by the Germans, Knauf, right?
I've never heard of
Yeah,
her.
yeah. Yeah, I think Berkshire Hathaway owned a big percentage, and when they sold out
Okay.
German Knauf. But yeah, there's a few of them out there. There's Vinyl Corp in Miami, owned by Clark Dietrich, who's owned by
Okay.
Industries, one of the biggest companies in the world. Then there's Plastic Components. Believe it or not, Plastic Components started the same year we did in 1969, and they
Okay.
focused on the exterior business, plaster trims, and
Okay.
we focused on interior drywall. So, kind of unique that
Yeah.
two companies started, two family-owned companies starting the same year. Different paths, but kind of similar in some ways, but different in
Right.
other ways, obviously. So yeah, there's a few competitors. There might be a few that I'm forgetting, but maybe they're not noteworthy enough to remember, you know.
Yeah. Why do you
Um,
think, two questions, why do you think Trim-Tex has had the longevity that it's had and success? And because obviously you've weathered some storms throughout the years, but also, uh, um, what would you attribute to Trim-Tex being maybe a little better than the competitors or cutting edge? You're continuing to innovate in this space. What do you attribute to that?
well, great question. A couple of our competitors are metal companies that are dabbling in plastic. So, we are totally 100% plastic extrusion, and we're very good at what we do.
Right.
And, being the small family-owned company, uh, allows you to be nimble. I think we've weathered the storm for many reasons. One was seniors' business philosophy of, if it's in our catalog, it's 100% in stock. And a second thing is if you order it today, you get your order in by 2 o'clock, it's going to ship same day. So for 56
Smart.
years, we've promised the dealer, hey, if it's in the catalog, it's in stock. Two, you order today, we ship today. The big boys can't do that, right? The steel companies are like, yeah, we'll put that on a truck. It's coming out to you in a week and a half. We'll top load that on our steel
Yeah.
to you. You'll
Well,
have it.
it's getting more important in today's day and age because you got Amazon. So you've got like everybody's used to getting stuff the
Just in,
next day and
just
for
in time.
free.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
that's been a big part of Trim-Tex is, we're your warehouse. You could order weekly if you get, if you tell Nick Harmon, yeah, I can get you that corner bead, get me your order by Tuesday. I put my Trim-Tex order in every Tuesday. So, get me the order on Friday or Monday and I'll order it Tuesday. You'll have it on Wednesday or Thursday, you know.
okay, good to
So
know.
that was always what you can trust about Trim-Tex was great service. We're always going to answer our phone. You're not going to have a computer answer the phone. We're going to ship your product. We have it in stock and we're going to ship it same day. That's really what's made Trim-Tex. The big boys couldn't do that, nor did they want to. And also innovation. Innovation, I'm proud to say we've always been recognized as one of the, if not the most innovative companies in the drywall industry. Notice I said drywall industry, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, second
Um,
only to Fresco Harmony. No,
Second only to Fresco. Yeah, you have more colors. Um, but
Uh, uh,
that's who we are. That's
well,
who.
and Chad talked to about too, and I noticed it when I was there. I had a chance to go up and take the training and learn about some of the specialty beads from some of the experts,
Mhm.
Noe and the cast of characters up
Yeah,
there, the
Andy,
fantastic
Enrique,
team.
all the
Yeah,
guys. Yep, and
yeah.
girls. Yep.
And Chad noticed sort of the same thing that I did, this element of community and respect and mutual like admiration that maybe your workers have for you and that you have for your workers, like this team environment that I mean, stop me if I'm wrong, I think that speaks volumes to what Trim-Tex is and what you produce.
Thank you. It's so kind words. Thank you, kind words.
Yeah,
It's so nice to uh, be appreciated, to be recognized for the community that we have built here. We are not we're more than a team. We're a family.
yeah,
So in the last 24 hours, I have personally spoken with 186 of my team members, 186 of my coworkers, my work family, as I call them.
yeah, yeah.
I have had a personal conversation with all of them literally in the last 24 hours. So
Why do you do
uh,
that?
I do it a couple times a year because I want them to know how much I appreciate them. And it's like Happy New Year. I haven't had a chance to see
Yeah,
you for a month or so, because of the holidays and blah, blah, blah. And oh, by the way, Joe, how's it going out in California? We have a California warehouse in Orange. And, how you doing, Joe?
yeah,
That's his name is Joe Lapruccio. And, is your house safe? Is your family safe? I want to know what's
yeah,
happening. I mean, shit's
right.
burning to the ground out there.
Yeah,
And thankfully, our warehouse is still standing. And thankfully, the three teammates and family members that we have out there, their houses are still standing. So it's about caring. It's
yeah,
about, um, that's just the way that's the way I've always done it. Take care of your people, treat them like family, and they'll be here for you. Edwin had his 33rd anniversary yesterday. Been here 33 years. Tom has been here almost 40 years. Lewis has been here 37. Lucio, our longest tenured employee, Lucio, he's like 40 years. I
yeah.
mean,
That's a testament to working for a good company, that longevity, especially retention nowadays. It
yeah,
just seems non-existent with most companies. People don't want to stay in one place; they want to migrate. I'm sure you have turnover, but
a little bit.
that philosophy of I think it's huge. If I'm talking to somebody about visiting the Trim-Tex factory, and one thing that they say is like, "Wow, there's really an element of community there, and it's amazing how Joe knows everybody." That's a big deal,
Yeah, it
to
is.
me. I mean, if I ran a company, that's the way I would want to run it.
Thank you. I put my pants and socks and boots on just the same way as everyone else that comes in that front door, and I'm no
Hmm.
different.
Yeah,
There are times when I get the biggest paycheck. There's times when I don't get a paycheck when times are tough. You
right,
know, the first one not to get a paycheck is you, right? The boss.
right, right.
But man, without them, I'd be nobody. And, they need me to work my magic and I need them to work their magic. And it's just a show of mutual admiration and respect and appreciation really for each other. And there's a lot of good companies out there. Unfortunately, Nick, unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs and family businesses, they don't have good continuation plans. And, you know, it's like farmers, young kids don't want to farm anymore. So the farmers are getting older and older and older. What are they going to do? What's their plan?
Yeah,
Well, they sell their farm to a bigger farm, and a lot of your
right.
farms aren't even owned by Americans anymore. They're owned by foreign companies.
Yeah. And so
How do you,
that's happening a lot in the drywall industry, especially with the mom and pop shops like Nieberge that
yeah,
I am more inclined to get into those shops because they're more personable and I can talk to the owner
right.
versus, a larger company where it's got to run up the flagpole for me to get in the door. I don't even
Yeah,
want to
100,
mess with it.
200, 500 locations.
Right.
It's been a lot of consolidation. But again, we're just a small family-owned company. When you come visit us, we're bigger than you think. Our facility is bigger than you think. Most people are
Yeah.
like, wow, I didn't realize you had all this.
Yeah.
You've got a design center, you've got a training center, you've got a testing lab, you've got all these things, you've got different, production facilities. You got this huge warehouse fully in stock, right?
Yeah. And
Ready to
and
ship.
Trim-Tex also has, I wouldn't call it an open door policy, but if you're listening and you've been curious about making the pilgrimage to Chicago to see the facility, I highly recommend it. And what is the best route if somebody's listening and they want to go visit? Do you still have periodical trainings? Is there like a group that you bring in to check out the facility and train people, or is it just kind of like if you want to make schedule an appointment, you can come out here and check out the factory? How does that work?
Yeah, it's changed a lot since COVID. Unfortunately, how many times if you had $100 for every time you've heard that, you'd have a lot of Benjamins in your hand, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, since COVID, so yeah, everything's changed since COVID. We actually just fully remodeled. We got away from our training center. I'm sorry, our design center was torn down a year and a half ago,
okay,
and our training center, along with it, we tore it all down and we completely reconditioned it all to our new innovation center.
okay,
So, so we've got more engineers, more innovation. We still might have a few events a year. We're just kind of getting to that.
okay.
But it's really for now what we're doing. You got to be into social media to get an invite to Trim-Tex. You either got to be a customer or a future customer, or you're some social media influencer that we want.
So maybe you've shifted over from, we have periodical trainings where you can come and visit to invite only. So
Correct.
it's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got $1 million innovation center that we put together. We're proud to show it to you.
Yeah.
But probably just not every person that's walking down the street. I mean, if you're in our industry, we are happy to talk to you if
Of
you're in our
course.
industry. And
Yep.
certainly the best way to do that is get connected with one of our salespeople. We have 16 of them out there running around in the country. Get to know our customer service team, customer solutions, they're called now. And then also our marketing, our social media. We're big on social media. Don't forget to watch the Drywall Minute. We've
Yeah.
done, probably 35 plus episodes. So
Yeah.
we've got
Those
more
are
planned.
great.
We've got more
Those are great.
planned. We did 24 last year. I made a big statement. Yeah, we're going to do 24 episodes. Well, we're doing 24 episodes this year too. So,
Good. Good.
but we are getting closer to the big announcement. I don't know when you're ready to do that. Are we going to stop for a taco break and then come back, or
A taco break. I could, you know what? I could go to the bathroom. So let's do that, and then we'll take off with it.
instead of a design center, we now have a community huge lunchroom, and also we have a coffee bar area. And then
Beautiful.
we have a uh, fancy coffee machine now where anybody can
Okay.
come in and get a whatever, get a
Yeah.
latte, or this is a latte macchiato I got.
Yeah. Beautiful.
We have a big training room. What used to be the design center is now a training room that we could fit the entire Trim-Tex into. We had 30 people in there not that long ago. Uh,
Beautiful.
life is good. Life is good.
Yeah. Yeah, last time we talked, I was going to head up there. We were going to do a training. I was going to get with your people a little bit. And then, like, the podcast just took me in a complete, I got to go for sales.
Right.
Aaron specifically with Columbia and the connection with CSR, that was a really big deal. That was like right after, I ended up going to the Black Friday event at CSR and Brad liked my stuff. And the rest is sort of history. We have one location in England now, which is weird. That one's been
Oh, I
challenging.
love it. I love it.
But
You got a
um,
user. You got a user. And let me just say this, shout out to Fresco Harmony. I have your product in 4 different areas of my home. I've got 4 feature walls with your product. So
thank you.
I'm a I am not only do I appreciate you and your product, I like it enough to use it in my own home. So
Thank you. Well,
you're welcome.
like you and your father, I'm a product of. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not sure where it came from. My dad had a little bit of entrepreneurialism in it. He ran a seeding, mulching, and fertilizing company. He'd go up on logging roads in the Gifford Pinchot National Forest, and they'd blow hay out onto the road, and so he would do that on the side while he worked. While he worked so that he could have benefits and stuff. But I guess it sort of runs in the family a little bit. But I mean, in this space, it's just so hard to break into it and come up with something new and all of this stuff that you really have to get super creative. Not that a podcast is creative, but in the drywall space, there wasn't really any place to go to a couple and 2.5 years ago to listen to drywallers talk about being in the trenches, and we've had a lot of great interviews since we've started. And I'm circling back to some of the early interviews so that we can get down better quality interview, which has been great. I want to get Drywall Shorty back on. She was one of the early interviews, maybe a couple of others, but the Drywall Minute. We ended with the Drywall Minute. I remember the Refresh guys. Those guys are hilarious. They're hard to not like. They're just you like them because you took them around. You guys went to the games. I follow all your stuff on social
You
media.
almost got hit with a puck. Yeah, it was fun.
Those guys are great, right?
We had a lot of fun.
And they're talented. They're so talented.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Social media. But you get to know, with Adriana from our marketing team. I mean, that's her. She's in charge of all the social media stuff, and
Yeah,
she's so
great.
gang shy. She's sitting over there right now. She won't come on. She won't come on camera.
Yeah,
So
Adriana, let's see. Get over here. Let's say hi.
I know she's so shy. But no, I just want to give a shout out to you and your product.
Thank
We
you.
got to know each other many years ago. You've always been a class act, and I appreciate that. So yeah, all is good. Podcast is great. Thanks for plugging my Drywall Minute.
Yeah,
We've been doing the Drywall Minute because everyone's got a minute, right? Nobody's
sure.
got 5 minutes anymore. This podcast is going to be 4 hours long, and no one's going to listen to it.
No. Some people, I'll edit it down a little bit, but you'd be surprised at how many people have an hour to listen to something as boring as drywall. You know who
Yeah.
listens? Drywallers.
Yeah. While they're driving, while they're taping,
While
you
they're
never know.
working. Yeah, while they're working on the house, man. It's, to put a pause on the rock music and throw on the Drywall podcast. You might be surprised.
Yep. And adding to that, I would like to huge shout out to everybody and anybody that's used and continues to use Trim-Tex products. Without you, we are nobody. So thank you. Our family here appreciates all of you. The loyalty is unbelievable. And not to brag, trust me, but I'm so proud of this. It sounds like a brag. Maybe it is a brag, but a small family company like Trim-Tex has built $1 billion brand. How do we do that? Maybe that's a podcast for down the road, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work. It's what you're doing. It's a ton of hard work. It's
Yeah.
spending money on
Tenacity.
advertising. I mean, we spent the most money on advertising for many, many years. We did all the trade shows. We did the custom home shows, and we were out there hawking our wares and showing people the stuff. And we basically brought bullnose out of the Southwest. Your area was a metal bullnose area. And we did the vinyl bullnose, and
Hmm.
we brought it to the rest of the world. And I spent millions of dollars advertising bullnose to the rest of the world.
And if
Millions.
you're listening too, that you guys carry an undersized bullnose, a 350 bullnose that is really beautiful. I just love it, and a lot of people will poo-poo the bullnose, and it's not, in feng shui, it's very good to have soft corners. In nature,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as a right angle. I just being around it, it's really cool. I have to go around it with my product sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt, but I
Yeah.
don't mind. But that undersized bullnose, that 350 bull,
Right.
is really cool,
Yeah.
and
And we've thrown you a curveball. So that's now called medium bullnose.
okay,
We have a smaller version. We have a 1/4 inch radius. Uh,
okay,
I'm sorry,
smart,
3/6. So there's a 3/6. So the small bullnose is 3/16.
okay,
Medium is 3/8, which is the 350. The large is the 3/4, and then the extra large or the jumbo or whatever it's called
jumbo, yeah.
is the 1.5 inch. Yeah.
I did a house with the I didn't put on the jumbo, but the drywall company put it on, and then we finished because they wanted that old world Santa Fe sort of look, that plaster look. They use Fresco Harmony, and they use the Trim-Tex jumbo bead, and
Right. How
it's
do you prepare the big bull nose for your product to stick? Do you put the spray adhesive on the nose?
yep, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I
So
learned that. I learned that from the Trim-Tex training. So if you use are you carrying the spray adhesive now?
we still carry the 847 installation adhesive, but for that purpose, you could use our 847,
Okay.
but probably
The
a light
77 or whatever, the 3M.
77. Yeah, 3M 77 is the fine mist. You just want to get that mist of
Yep.
adhesive on the nose.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you don't know, if you spray adhesive onto vinyl corner bead, that mud will stick like nobody's business.
Correct.
That's a
Yep.
really great trick.
Unfortunately, our Tex 11, which was the fine mist adhesive, didn't make it through the COVID. So what quick story. Everyone says COVID this, COVID that, but COVID was really hard on companies, and supply chain was horrible. We couldn't get vinyl, we couldn't get spray
Yeah.
adhesives, we couldn't get anything. So we chopped about 150 stock numbers out of our product line
Wow.
during the 2020 and 2021 and 2022. Like the niche bead and the steppables,
Hmm.
they all got paused because we still have the tooling. We still have the
Right.
tooling for everything.
Right.
They got paused because we didn't have enough vinyl to make tearaway and corner bead for the construction projects that were going up. So we literally chopped 150 plus SKUs, and we took that material out of the warehouse and opened the boxes and ground it up, and we made
Well,
made product out of it. It was painful.
Well, and I want to like reiterate too. I love the idea of if you've got a large project and you're willing to spend, a minimum of $1,000, which I agree with you. I don't think on a large project, that's if you're doing anything over $1 million custom home and you want to pitch the owner on step bowl and you want to put in a large order, that's possible. Kind of just on the podcast now, but I wonder if there's a way that Trim-Tex could market that, in a side catalog or something where, hey, man, we have all these specialty beads. If you want to do a minimum bid order like me, I would sell it. If I was working with a builder and a GC, I would sell it, because I think it's that cool. The houses that I did in it are amazing, and even the outside niche bead, it's so cool. I mean, you're just not really advertising it.
Well, they're paused right now. Like corduroy bell bottoms are still not back in style, but you know what? Niche bead and steppable, they will come back in style one day, and we'll figure out a way to sell them. It's really a logistics problem.
Yeah.
It is a warehouse. The problem with, let's talk about niche bead. So we sold $20,000 a year worth of niche bead.
Right.
It was 500 boxes a year, whatever it was.
Right.
But when we ran it, we would run like a 3-year supply. So in our warehouse, you'd have a whole bay of 3 skids of niche bead that would take 3 years to sell. Okay. And it's when we ran out of plastic, we knew what to do. We got to grind that shit up, and we got to make, we got to make tearaway out of that, because, I can sell the tearaway in a week, right?
It was good to have that backstock of vinyl.
It was painful to grind it all up, let me tell you. What we will do in the future, if the laws of nature, physics, and common sense all combine, is we would bring those products back in to a warehouse somewhere, and we would just charge more money for them. So you don't have to buy $1,000 worth. You want to buy a box? Yeah, it's $200.
Right.
You got to be able to afford to keep it on the shelf for 3 years. That's the problem, right? Because on that shelf, the floor below that shelf, you're paying property tax twice a year, right? I mean, you got a house, you pay property tax, your bill comes twice a year. So think about the envelope around the lighting bill, the roof, the floor, the racking, the overhead to keep that product on a rack for 3 years. I think, personally, I would just get the price high enough to where it's we make money on it. If you can make money on it and it can sit there for a year, away.
Love it.
We did solve a problem. A lot of people wanted our shower bead. Shower bead is a huge success, but there was a lot of small contractors out there that didn't want to buy a whole box, and there's a lot of dealers that don't want to stock it. So what we did is we created a 7-foot UPS shippable box.
Oh.
And we're selling it through Ailes Taping.
Smart.
So if you need to finish one shower, you can go to Ailes and you can buy a box of 5 or 6 pieces, 7-footers. And I think, we're getting off topic again, but it's so much fun just to talk about.
We're talking about vinyl. We're very much, vinyl. We're on topic.
I'm a solutions guy. My team and I, we've innovated hundreds of products.
Yeah.
The problem is, how do you sell those hundreds of products? How do you make money? How are you able to afford to warehouse them? How can you ship them? Logistics is our biggest problem right now. What, UPS used to carry, I used to be able to ship 30 years ago, I could ship a 10-foot box UPS. And then it went to 9-foot, then it went to 8-foot, then it went to 7.5 feet. So right now, if you want to buy a box of Trim-Tex and you want to ship it UPS, we're going to have to cut it down to 7.5 feet.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So, why would you want would you want to use 7.5 foot niche bead? Maybe, because you're doing it on a perimeter, so
That
maybe
would be
that's
the cost. That would be the application cost of having specialty bead would be that it only comes in 7 foot length.
because you're limited by logistics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, truck lines today, they want a 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot cube of styrofoam. That's what they want to ship. They want no
Yeah.
weight, they want no oversized, they want perfect, perfect, perfect. So that's what manufacturers and even yourself, that's what we're up against. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
let me ask you this. How do you ship your product in the wintertime? Does it not freeze? Are you
No, no, I'm lucky I have a really good shipping product.
There you go. So it does, in the dead of winter, if you're shipping it to Ontario, so we had a product called Mud Max. It was a liquid glue. You just poured it into your mud and, baba, everything was
Yeah.
great. It was a fabulous product. We sold it for many years, except it sucked to ship it in the wintertime because you had to put heat packs in there. And then one shipment got frozen, and we had to throw it out. Once it froze, it was like Elmer's glue. Elmer, what do they do with Elmer's glue? How do they ship that in the wintertime?
Man, you'd have to talk to the Elmer's glue
You got to
people.
talk to Elmer because if it freezes, it's not the same glue as it once was.
Right, right. That's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, I know they have that issue with plasters. So Brad specifically liked the idea that my product was shippable in the winter, which is a big deal. I'm getting ready to ship some more product up to Toronto.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, I'm not
love
worried
it.
about it. I'm not worried about it at all.
So that is a good question for Fresco. Is like, all right,
Yeah.
I know you tested it. You take a bottle of your color, you put it in the freezer for 2 days,
Yeah.
and you take it out of the freezer, you know, does it need to thaw? And once it thaws, does it work the same? The answer
Yeah.
obviously is yes, right?
We have bottles that I've tested for. I still have some blue bottles that I made when I was first going, and they're like 10 years old, 12 years old, like aging like fine wine, like these old bottles, and they still work after 10 years of sitting,
Yeah.
so that's cool. The sealer's a water-based acrylic, so I think it can get cold. I'll drive around with it in my truck in the winter, all winter, and
Yeah.
it's more mild here in Albuquerque, but I still haven't had any issues with the old. I'll use it for patches and stuff, but I'll drive
Sure.
around and test it out. And I haven't, whether it's frozen or not frozen, I haven't had any issues in that regard. Like if you're getting down below freezing and it's like
Yeah.
freezing hard, probably would. I tell people not to, don't let it freeze. Don't keep it out
Right.
in your garage. Keep it inside.
Yeah.
It's
Don't leave it on the dashboard of the van for two
no,
nights out. And, because we were last weekend, it was 9 degrees here in Chicago,
that's cold.
at night.
Yeah.
We had a high of 15 and a low of 7. I mean, everything's going to freeze. You leave a bottle of water in,
Yeah. When I
you leave
brought
anything liquid in your vehicle and park it outside, within
yeah.
2 hours, it's frozen solid.
I was worried when we got to Springfield. I left the product in the car and it got cold. It got down to like 15. And then when we drove the next day, we drove to Nieberge or Newton. And I
Yeah.
was like, let's stop by the shop and drop it on the way, because we were going to set it up the next day. Let's just drop it so it's inside
Right.
tonight because it got
Right.
into the single digits. But so I think about that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not, but most importantly,
Yes, sir.
we've got some type of a big announcement from Trim-Tex that you're saying like it goes like today. Is this like the first place you're announcing it? I mean, this
100%.
isn't going to air for 2 weeks, so you're okay.
I don't
But
care.
it'll probably air sooner. But what is this big announcement? Let's have it.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm very, very, very proud to announce that Trim-Tex, we've been asked 1,000 times through my career. I've been asked if I had $100 bill for every time, I'd have a new speedboat right now. But we have been asked, hey, when are you going to do exterior? Hey, when are you going to do exterior? Hey, when are you going to do exterior? Trim-Tex, we are launching our exterior stucco corner bead product line tomorrow,
Wow.
January 15th, right? Today's the 14th, I'm hoping,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Yep. January 15th, it goes on sale. So even though this is a 2-week delay, this is I'm announcing it here first. So
Would you market to your existing retailers this product, or are you looking for maybe some new retailers that sell stucco products?
yeah, it's going to be both. It's 100% the same channel, the same dealer. So gypsum supply dealers, for
Okay.
the most part, also handle the stucco. There might be there's going to be a lot of uh, similarities in the channel. I would think that there's going to be some new dealers out there that are 100% stucco supply only,
Sure.
that haven't sold Trim-Tex in the past. So I would say yes, yes to both. We're
Okay.
looking forward to meeting some new dealers out there, wherever you
Sure.
are. We're also looking forward to, there's a lot of drywall people that do the crossover, they do some exterior, they do interior.
Sure.
Hello to all of you, and thank you
Yeah.
for using Trim-Tex in the past. And it's really exciting. It's still extrusion. I'm going to grab a piece. It's got a piece of it over here.
Sure.
Still a corner bead. It's still hole punching. With the corner beads and the expansions and the casement beads. The whole gamut of products. So.
Why are you going in this new direction?
Well, we've been asked 1,000 times to do it, and we
Okay.
decided that we've built our team up. We've expanded. We keep investing in ourselves, and we've built up our product development team is much larger than it's ever been. Our customer solutions team is bigger. Our sales force is bigger. It's just time to do it. We're ready to venture into the exterior market. So we got the inside of the house covered and now the outside of the house covered.
Awesome. Congratulations on that. And I'm
Thank you.
still doing really big deal. Cool. So exterior products, look forward to more about that on social media. You're going to have to jump into all those, Adriana's going to have to jump into all those stucco forums.
Right.
Good luck with that, Adriana. I'm sure
Yeah,
those
I
are,
know. I
I'm
know.
sure those are a load of fun.
Well, and also we have the drywall minute, which by the way, we've got 100,000 we got 100,000 followers on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We finally hit that high mark, and we're proud of
Yeah.
that.
And
Now
shout
we
out to
go.
Adriana too. She does a really good job with your social media and all of that stuff.
Well, thank you.
I've met her. She's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
for me, it's all about high energy. Nobody, of course, who loves the products more than Joe Koenig. I mean, this has been my life, right? I love my job. I love innovating. Um, the drywall, the exterior solutions. You can click a button on our website. You go interior, you go exterior. So that's all up and running. Products are in stock in the warehouse, ready to ship in stock.
Hmm.
And, we just have to come up with a different name than the drywall minute when we talk about exterior. We do have a few tricks up our sleeve, but yeah, I can't go on the dry. Hey, got a drywall minute? Let's
You
talk
call it
about
the stucco minute
the stuccos. Hey,
because you're gonna have to start marketing to like that whole stucco
yes,
crowd. You
yes.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you're pivoting a little bit on social media where it's like, okay, now you have a larger branch. And now all those stucco people that do drywall are maybe going to learn about Trim-Tex products,
And that
drywall.
might open the door for Fresco to do an exterior coloring system. How about
Uh,
that? How's
maybe.
that for an idea? You can fresco inside and outside.
Joe, I wish, you know,
Not
being
you
in,
to smile.
it doesn't come with a book. It doesn't come with like like a how-to book. If there was
Right.
like just a paint by numbers entrepreneurial book that you could like, oh, here's what you do next. This
Yep.
is where you start scaling. You're going to have to hire a person. Once you make a certain amount, you're going to need that. I'm still just really trying to figure it all out, and I'm doing, to me it's all about the client. Like, just
Right.
I double down on customer service and the client, and that seemed to work pretty well so far.
I'm just kind of, throwing an idea out there, but
Yeah.
obviously there's colored stucco in the world already.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, you know,
I model a lot of my marketing after the stucco, because a lot of times on stucco you'll have like 20 colors,
right.
that they'll have the color packs, for stucco. So I do a lot of modeling based on the stucco model for a joint compound. Um,
Yeah. Well,
the
I do have some
the
advice for you. So your son is 9 now, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was 10 on the milling machine. So now I know you've had him on job sites before. So get him out there, get him working,
Hmm.
have him learn how to earn a few buckaroos to buy his next game
Okay.
or whatever, or dirt bike or
Yep.
bicycle or, skateboard or whatever it is.
Sure.
But start working on your continuation plan because if he's not interested in your business, then you're going to end up selling it to one of the big shots out there, and then they'll either crush it or, run it into the ground, or maybe they'll succeed with it. Who knows? But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's,
I think it's got legs enough now that it could go. It could
yeah,
really go.
yeah,
I'm starting to get to where it's harder to keep up.
yeah. Good. That's a good
That's a good
sign.
problem. Yeah, it's a good sign. Um, and a pearl of wisdom. So I'm still doing pearls of wisdom from the great Joe Koenig. What would you say if you had a billboard, or you could give a pearl of wisdom to the drywall industry and also the stucco industry, as it were?
Well, for me, the pearl of wisdom, what means the most to me is, work hard, play hard, honesty, integrity, ethics. You promise your handshake is worth everything. Your word is worth everything. Go out of your way to deliver what you promise, and for sure pay it forward. If you've any success you have, if you've got an extra slice of bread that you can share with someone that needs a slice of bread, please do that. Those are my words of wisdom, and that's kind of how I live my life. And my beautiful family here, they believe in that, and they do it too. So
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Creates a culture of success all around. Joe Koenig, Trim-Tex Drywall Products, www.trimtex.com,
yep.
trim-tex.
Hyphen dash. Yeah.
Check them
Yep.
out on the website. Wherever you get your drywall products out in the field, if they're not carrying Trim-Tex, you might want to speak to that yard manager and tell them they need to start carrying them. And then also social media. You are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Where else? TikTok, I imagine.
Yeah, probably for sure. All of those. We got a good YouTube channel, a lot of good instructional videos. Yeah, it's all good. Life is good. We have a good sales force out there. We definitely have technical reps out in the field. So if you want to try a product, call our customer service and let them know, you'd like to meet with a technical rep, and, we can come out to your job site and show you how to do it. Or you could get an appointment to come here to Trim-Tex and get trained, on the use of the product. So,
and then what's your customer service number, if you have that, really quickly, if somebody's interested in that stuff?
Yeah.
If you don't, that's fine.
I do have it quickly. It's been so long since someone's asked me our 800 number, but
okay. Well, it's right on.
It.
You guys have a fantastic catalog as well, so people can call and request a catalog too of your products.
But it's 1-800-874-2333. 1-800-874-2333. We are Lincolnwood, Illinois. We have a printed catalog still, but the website is updated on a weekly basis. Catalog is updated on a yearly basis. So always go to the web. Check us out on all the different social media channels. Watch the Drywall Minute. There's a lot of quick information about products. And just thanks. I had a lot of fun today, man. This was great.
Good
to catch up with you.
Yeah, it was good to get more thorough coverage on the history of where sort of Trim-Tex came from. It's a really cool story. You guys keep moving forward. You keep innovating in the space, and I really appreciate your time, Joe. I have to make a trip up there soon to see you guys, and maybe do an accent wall in that beautiful new coffee room that you have. I can see, I was envisioning a Fresco Harmony wall in there.
Right. Maybe we'll do a big cup of coffee, and you can color that up, give it some life.
Yeah, we'll do. There's a couple of really intense, browns that we could do in there, or Spalding espresso is a color that we carry.
You have espresso. We would use part of that. I'm sure maybe a little green. I love that one green you have. I've used that a few times. So
yeah. All right.
We do have an accent wall right on the other side of this wall. Behind me is Fresco Harmony on the other side. So that is James Barlow's office now. JB.
James gets to have some Fresco in his office, but it'd be fun to come up there and do a Fresco wall for you guys.
We did one. Has a few nicks in it. Needs some repair. We need you to come up here.
There you go. Just skim it. We'll have him.
Those moving guys, they keep banging into it.
Yeah, he could pick a new color. We went and did an accent wall at the Columbia headquarters. We did a training over there. That was fun. We did black. Dark color.
Of course. Well, hey, Peace out, everyone. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And we will be in touch. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Huge shout out to Joe Koenig of Trim-Tex Drywall Products for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today. Thank you so much, Joe. And best of luck on your stucco endeavors with those products. I'm sure they are going to be a success. Do you have courage like Joe to come onto the Drywall Podcast and tell your story? Not only would I love to hear from you, I know that our listeners would love to hear from you as well. I am always looking for drywall guys and gals in the trenches, in the industry, doing the work, powering forth. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you have the courage now. Reach out to me directly at info@frescoharmony.com. You can email me, or you can call me directly at 505-400-9313. The Drywall Podcast can be listened to on your favorite platforms, such as, but not limited to, Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and also you can watch this entire episode on YouTube. A lot of people don't know that. Thank you so much for joining us on the Drywall Podcast today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Join us next time. We are going to have those crazy kids over at Mud Skip telling their story, so stay tuned for that coming soon. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and remember, keep drywalling.